Well, 157 for the Mumbai Indians in their first home game of IPL 2023. Lots of hype, lots of expectation, and that batting is their strength and they should come good in good batting conditions. And the Wankhede did not quite go according to plan. CSK have done well to keep them down to 157 in spite of losing Deepak Chahar after he had bowled just the 1 over. 5 for 48 in 8 overs between Ravindra Jadeja and Mitchell Santner. Should be a one-way sort of conversation, but we will look back at what went wrong for Mumbai on ESPN Cricket for T20 timeout. We'll hear from Tom Moody in a moment. Shaun Tait first with me. How do you explain that innings, 157? Didn't look great for Mumbai.
Yeah, just nothing was going their way, I suppose. And I think on the surface of it, just losing Rohit, Ishan and Surya in fairly, succession, fairly close succession, I suppose, is not going to do them any favours. And just a struggle. And I mean, you look at Surya, the struggles he's going through, and you look at the dismissal tonight. It probably wasn't really his fault, I suppose, in some ways. He's just having that bad run. But when you lose key players like that at crucial moments, it's tough. It's tough to get back from there.
Yeah, it seemed like one of those innings, Tom, where nothing just seemed to go for them. But there and thereabouts, Chennai did manage to make life hard.
Well, Chennai, I think, were very clever. The way they navigated that whole innings and how they managed with the loss of Chahar and introduced spin early, and it just showed you the class of Santner and Jadeja on that surface. That it didn't appear to be spin friendly. Yeah, it sort of straightened a little bit, but it wasn't like the surface we saw last night in Lucknow?
Yes.
Yeah, which was a dirty turner. This was, a very good surface, but two very clever bowlers took advantage of a side that lost early wickets. The one thing I will say, though, is that, the number of players Mumbai's side got in and they just didn't kick on and make a significant contribution. The openers both got, 20 and 30, and then you had
Tilak Verma got 22,
well,
Tim David 31.
Tim David looked like he was going to sort of blossom into, barrage of sixes towards the end of the innings, but nothing really happened for them.
So what made Jadeja and Santner effective, Tom, on what you've already said wasn't necessarily one where the surface showed that there's a lot of turn? Why did they bowl as well as they did?
Well, I think the loss of wickets helps. It builds pressure. But I think where they're very clever, particularly Santner, is his change of pace. He reminds me so much of Dan Vettori. Not a huge turner of the ball, but a very clever, deceptive bowler. Through the air, so it never feels like the ball driving to you. He feels like it nearly feels like the ball's on a string and he's pulling it back away from you at the batter's crease. So he's just a very clever bowler, reads the game very well. He can, with his delay in his action as well, he has that split second as well advantage, seeing what the first batsman's move is. If you next time you watch him bowl in replay or in live, just watch that slight delay, which is a technical thing. It's not an intentional thing. It's a technical thing but that does give him a little split second longer to see what the batsman is looking to do, and he can then make that subtle adjustment.
Yeah, it's almost like a default stop in his action. We look at Surya, the wicket you talk about, strangled on the leg side. You think, oh, that's unlucky, but somewhere perhaps there's credit to be given to a bowler there whom, if Tom's reading is right, he's seen Surya sort of go down. Maybe he's not intending to get him down the leg side, but it does make it harder to perhaps connect those than just glove them.
And apart from that, but the other thing, they bowl straight as well. So they know they've got that on a string. That's their game. They bowl straight. Obviously, what Tom was saying about the change of pace. But yeah, and Surya, I suppose, it's again one of those things when you're in that sort of rut, or whatever you want to call it, things don't tend to go away. And maybe a few months ago, he would have hit that for 4.
Yeah.
But still, they're giving themselves the opportunity to take wickets, and you're losing wickets, and he's under pressure to perform now, coming in in a rough period against some good bowling, and it makes it even more difficult.
Yeah. can you explain and almost understand or see what's going on with Surya Kumar Yadav, Tom, all of a sudden?
It's very hard to dissect, but I think what we're learning is that he is human, and I think for a period of time there we were sort of not really coming to terms with with what he's actually doing to the game, and he was nearly untouchable. But I think we're just seeing the absolute polar opposite of the fact that sport does a vicious cycle of exposing the human element of our vulnerability, which can be form, can be luck. You can call it what you like. He's probably doing exactly the same things that he's done the last 12 months now, but he's just not getting the rub of the green. But the thing is that then can turn into a challenge where he starts questioning his own form and questioning whether he's doing the right things, and he might look at changing technique and batting stances and all sorts of things, or the way he's preparing, which is what he shouldn't be doing. But that's why a lot of people say that cricket, particularly batting, is 80% mental, 20% skill.
I mean, I know that there are those. I've seen something written as well on how his purple patch was so extraordinary that it possibly couldn't last too long, and it may even be known in time that perhaps there was a period of him overachieving. There's no doubt what he achieved was special, but if you just look at how drastic the slump has been, we've seen great players, Teddy, have bad patches, but they still perhaps look out of sorts and get scores. Surya's now had since that Nagpur test, I know it's different formats, but single figure score there, 3 ducks in the series against Australia, 15 and 1 today. It just seems like the slump seems to be so drastic too. Does that tell you anything at all about?
Well, I think they're sort of different, but if you look at someone like a Glenn Maxwell, through his career he's had those sort of times as well where he's had unbelievable purple patches and then maybe a slump, and obviously going to be highly criticised because of the way he plays as well. Surya, he's got all those shots. And you could say he's sometimes reckless. He's obviously an unbelievable player, but you wouldn't say he's an organised player when he comes to the crease. Someone like a Kohli, right? He's an organised player. That's his game. Where Surya can change things around from innings to innings a little bit, and because he's so flash and so great to watch and entertaining, maybe the recklessness can fold the other way. And obviously, the other thing that comes into it as well, maybe the hype and the great run he's had. Maybe he's just come down a couple of rungs and hopefully he can get himself back up there. But that, I think, to play, he's a bit of like a Maxwell, like a bit of a scatter batsman.
A bit of a maverick.
A little bit like that. And he's a bit of a, the way he thinks about the game is a lot different. So the fall can be a lot harder for those sort of players.
Tom, anything to add to that? Shall we move on?
Yeah, no, it's a good point. And I think that, he's got good people around him, so I'm sure that he'll work it out sooner rather than later.
All right, fair enough. Tushar Deshpande has been backed by CSK, and yes, we've spoken of the spinners, but they keep their faith in him, and he might go for a few boundaries. But there's something about Tushar Deshpande. He gets the wicket. He got Rohit Sharma with a beauty. He got Tim David at a time we thought this is going to be a long over for Tushar, and maybe a few dangerous overs after that when David takes off, like the ball that you saw to Rohit.
Great. Oh, that was probably the only really good delivery that got a wicket, mate.
Yeah.
But I think. He's got something about him. I remember speaking to a friend of mine that had a bit to do with Mumbai cricket, and a couple of years ago, and he sent me a message. We were talking about something. He said, "You've got to see this guy, this Deshpande. Runs in, bowls fast, big, strong guy. No frills, and just wants to run in and take wickets and bowl bounces and all this stuff." Which for someone like myself, I like that. I think the game needs it, and it's great to have someone like that in your team, but. And I think the first game he came in and played, he went for a few runs. So that sort of player can bowl that delivery to Rohit Sharma, but then it can also go the other way for him. But he looks like he's got a lot of heart, and as a captain, the sort of player you want running in for you.
Yeah, heart's a good way to sort of describe him. You could almost see it for Tushar. I think you can understand where Teddy's coming from, Tom, when he says that's probably the one ball that deserved to get a wicket. Otherwise, a lot of the other wickets seem to be errors or great bits of fielding. But Deshpande, there is something about him. I mean, Rohit Sharma, you can look at that and say, oh, he got a 21, but today was perhaps one of those days where the bowler got the better of him.
Yeah, look, it was a good ball that got Rowe, but I don't think it was that good a ball that it should have clean bowled a world-class opening batsman. It held its line a little bit and went straight through him. But look, he's an interesting one, Deshpande, in that I think he's going to be the beneficiary of a very good captain. I think under different leadership, you might find he would go missing. But under Dhoni, you will probably find him grow and get better and better as the tournament goes on, and be one of those players that we talk about as, he's one of the finds of the tournament for CSK.
Yeah, I think there are plenty who go into that list, but you can totally understand where Tom Moody is coming from. Right, can they possibly make a game out of this? Mumbai 157 seems well below par. Hrithik Shawkin's managed to get a few runs of Dwayne Pretorius in the last over to even take them somewhere near 160. Otherwise, that innings or that score was looking even weaker. Tom, is there any real hope here? They are missing two of their key batters, CSK, in Stokes and Moeen.
I think very unlikely. To me, they're about 30 runs short of where they should be. I think very unlikely. I think CSK would have to have an absolute nightmare in the power play to let Mumbai Indians back into this game.
You'd go with that? This should be an easy chase for Chennai?
Yeah, I tend to agree with that. There's not much to add to that, really. I think, I even think Mumbai did all right in the last couple of overs to get a few extra, but I definitely think 30 short maybe. Look, there's always a chance of making a game of it, but I think the quality and the experience with Chennai is just too much,
Yeah, let's have a quick look at those impact sub options for Mumbai and whether they'd be tempted to go to see the success of Jadeja and Santner and say, all right, maybe we can throw in Kumar Karthikeya, who bowled a bit of left arm everything, left arm orthodox spin, left arm wrist spin last year. Could that be the way to go, Tom? Would they go for the extra seam option in Sandeep Warrior? Arjun Tendulkar bowls a bit of left arm seam. I don't think they'll go down that route. But what's their best option if they are to add to their bowling arsenal?
I think it's going to be pace against spin, because they've already got two, good spin options available for them. So maybe the left arm Warrior may come into consideration.
Yeah, I think Warrior's the right arm seamer. Yeah, but that's
right.
Tendulkar.
I was thinking, I was getting mixed up. But I think he would probably get the nod.
All right, we'll wait and see. You got to pick out of that. It's not like there are a lot of exciting options there, which is the other thing with the impact sub. It's, with due respect, just the domestic players that
they're actually a bit lean. I think the bowling attack's a bit lean, but I just want to see Tendulkar because it's Tendulkar. That's it. We all want to see. I just want to see him have a go.
Yeah. I think there are quite a few of us that wouldn't mind seeing Arjun Tendulkar play. Are you one of those, Tom?
Yeah, look, if he deserves his chance, by all means. Not but just because of intrigue. No. I think you got to earn the right to find yourself in the playing 11. If he's doing all the right things and showing the form with the ball, why not?
Yep. All right. You'd think so. He's been with the franchise for a while. He has had his best domestic season going into this year's IPL. I think more with bat than ball, but I could be wrong. But anyway, we'll see whether Mumbai can even will need an impact sub. Will their bowlers perhaps will the game go one way anyway? But it is Chennai's game most certainly, as per Shaun, Tait and Tom Moody. We'll pick up the chat at the end on ESPN Cricket for T20 Timeout. Quick reminder: if you haven't already, download the app, head to the App Store or Play Store, and get yourself the fastest live scores and a lot more as we conclude another doubleheader day in the tournament. We'll see you at the end of the game.